Hello everybody, my name is Jackie and welcome to Prairie Sports Talk, the podcast where we talk about sports that directly impact the Canadian Prairie. Today is July 11th, 2024, and today we are going to talk about a little bit of soccer and a lot about football. I'm very excited for this episode, so without further ado, let's get into it. For the first time ever, Canada is competing in COPA America, and they will have a chance to medal. So they opened up the round robin against Argentina and ended up losing 2-0. But it's Argentina. I don't think it's that big of a deal for Canada to drop a game against the world number one. And then they ended up beating Peru 1-0, and they finished up the round robin with a 0-0 tie against Chile. And then in the elimination round, they beat Venezuela in penalty kicks 4-3 after a 1-1 regulation. And then they ended up losing another game against Argentina in the semifinals, once again 2-0. Canada will play for bronze against the loser of Uruguay and Colombia. Soccer is a growing sport in Canada, and I think when Canada has moments like this where they shine on the international stage, even if it's not like getting into the championship round and they're still having positive results, I think that is a very good sign for both the young team and the sport growing in Canada. So this honestly has me very excited. I personally don't know a lot about soccer, but even I'm sitting down and watching these games because Copa America is kind of starting to unite the Canadian sports world, and it's been a really fun experience to go through, and I really hope Canada ends up winning against whoever they end up playing for third place. The game was last night, but as of recording, the game has not happened. So you guys know what Team Canada is going to be up against, but at recording, I do not. But regardless, good luck to the men's Canadian soccer team, and congratulations on such a good tournament so far. Can't wait to see what the future holds for the team. On to the CFL. This was a very interesting week. Week 5 opened up in Saskatchewan with the Argos coming to town. And Cameron Dukes has looked surprisingly good for the Argos. He's been pretty sharp. Now, granted, he hasn't lit the world on fire, but I've been pretty high on how he has played. He has definitely made up for the missing starting QB in Toronto. So it's been a definite bright spot for the Argos. But that was not the case against the Rough Riders, because he threw 4 interceptions and ended up getting pulled. And the Riders' defense was the difference maker. I have a major question surrounding this game. Have the Saskatchewan Roughriders just provided the league with a blueprint on how to beat Cameron Dukes? Or was this just a small blip in what could end up being a very, very good season for Dukes? We're going to have to wait and see. I'm very curious to see how Dukes bounces back from this. But regardless, I was wrong here. I thought the Argos were going to win this game with minimal issue, and I thought Shea Patterson was going to really struggle for the Riders. Now, granted, he didn't play as well as Trevor Harris has, but he still played good enough for the Riders to get the win. And the defense, they had a tremendous game, as I mentioned before. They had 4 takeaways, and they had 5 takeaways, and 4 of them were interceptions returned for a combined total of 104 yards. That is absurd. The Riders' defense has just been out of their mind this season. They've won the takeover battle, I'm pretty sure, in every single game. If they haven't, please correct me in the comments down below, but I'm very confident they have. And then we moved on to Winnipeg and Ottawa. Now, I thought Ottawa would walk into Princess Auto Stadium, walk out, no issue, take the W. I was wrong here. Winnipeg ended up getting their first win of the season. But it's their first win. Winnipeg is supposed to be one of the best teams in the league. and they have one win through 5 weeks of play. That is not a good sign. And that one win has come against a team that is mid-rebuild. Yes, Ottawa is a lot better than they were last season, but to say that, if you had told me at the end of last season that Winnipeg would go through the first 5 weeks and only win once, and that one win would come against Ottawa, the only part of that sentence I would believe is Winnipeg beating Ottawa. Winnipeg has been a massive letdown this season, and honestly, I don't see that changing. Yes, they showed good signs against Ottawa, but at the end of the day, they're still missing Collaros. Streveler looked solid, but here's the thing, he looked solid as a running back. Chris Streveler, yes, he's a lot better than he was in 2019, but that does not mean he's a CFL caliber passer. He's one of the best runners in the league, especially for quarterbacks. But his passing is questionable, to say the very least. And unfortunately, the week of backup quarterbacks only had another addition because Ottawa's Drew Brown ended up going down in this game. Dustin Crum came in, he looked solid. Not great, not bad, but he looked solid. I hope Drew Brown is okay. He has had a very good start to the season. And honestly, if he's out for long term, that would really suck because this season has the potential to be a massive breakout for him. And then we move on to Montreal defeating Calgary. I figured Montreal would win this game, but I didn't think it'd be as close as it was. And honestly, this QB battle was really, really fun. Jake Mayo versus Cody Fajardo, tremendous QB battle. I think these two QBs both still have their best years ahead of them as well. It's players like these that have me excited not just for the present of the CFL, but the future as well. And honestly, that was about the most notable thing of the game. Now, I'm not saying the game wasn't fun to watch. I'm not saying that it wasn't a very good game. I'm just saying the QBs, they were the story headed into this game, and they were the story all game long as they deserved to be. These are two very skilled quarterbacks. Now, granted, there was a major side story because Montreal has finally gotten Fletcher going. But interestingly enough, they didn't get him going on the ground. Now, do not get me wrong. He had a solid game on the ground. He had 56 yards over 5 carries. I'm a little shocked with the fact that they didn't try feeding him the ball more on the ground when he was averaging about a little over 10 yards per carry. But here's the thing. Through the air, he had 104 yards receiving on 9 catches. That was good enough for second most on the Alouettes. Unsurprisingly, Tyson Philpott, he had the most. But I mean, like, that's becoming old news at this point because Philpott is having a career season. Tyson Philpott, he is the future of this league, and he might even be the present already. Philpott has already won Most Outstanding Canadian in the Grey Cup, and he has only taken that and just decided he wants more. Philpott could be a future MVP, MOP in this league, and he's a receiver. I would not be shocked if he is the first receiver that I can remember that ends up winning MOP. But regardless, it is a very good sign that not only Philpott is going, but now they have sparks from Fletcher. He is showing signs of life. That is a very good sign for Montreal. Because if Cody Fajardo were to start to suddenly cool down this season, or Philpott were to get injured, or anything goes wrong with their passing game, at least now they might be able to lean on Fletcher, who could come in and end up saving what is destined at this point to be a great season. I'll be very shocked if Montreal does not end up winning first in the East, especially with how they have played through the first little while of this season. And Calgary, they have also made some moves after the game, because just the other day, news broke that they have signed Jamal Morrow, the former Rough Rider running back. Now, they tried to sign him in the offseason, but he did not pass the physical. Now, the only thing that really surprises me about this move is that they waited so long to do it. Now, probably the only reason they waited so long was they were waiting till he was at a point where he could pass the physical. But regardless, Calgary made the right move here, beefing up their ground game. Their passing game has been pretty solid to start the season. Ground game has definitely been a bit lackluster. But at the end of the day, signing Morrow is going to make this a better team. And as a Rider fan, I'm very happy for Jamal Morrow. I really hope he does great things in Calgary. But I hope they're not that great, because I still want the Riders to win the West. And then, speaking of winning the West, we move on to BC. And well, no surprise here, BC destroyed Calgary. It wasn't close. There's not much to say here. The right team won, BC continues to dominate this season. But one thing I do want to point out is the CFL on TSN panel made a very good point when talking about this game. They pointed out that the Edmonton Elks and the Hamilton Tiger Cats have the same record, but they are playing incredibly different. The Elks are playing like a team that believe they can win every single game they go out there. It doesn't matter that they're winless. They still think they can win every game. And with an attitude like that, that's only going to help the team. Meanwhile, the Ticats are going out there and they look like they don't want to be out there. You're not going to win football. You're not going to win a football game when you look like that. Here's the thing. Hamilton does not have a roster that is going to be able to compete in the CFL. I'm not saying these players can't compete in the CFL. But when you put all of them together, that is not a good enough team to win in the CFL. It's not. And Hamilton is continuing to rely on Bo Levi Mitchell because they don't have a choice. They don't have a backup who can come in and take over for Bo. And here's the thing. Bo Levi, I have said it for a couple years now, he's washed. He is washed up. Bo Levi is a future Hall of Famer. He had some tremendous years with Calgary. He has had one of the most decorated careers in recent memory. But that does not change the fact, today, he is not the same quarterback he was 6 years ago. He's not. And it looks like he's only going to continue to regress as he plays more and more. Bo Levi, after the season, he should hang up the cleats and just admit he's not as good as he was. That is not a knock against him. Nobody can play this game forever. It doesn't matter how good you are. Like, even Tom Brady, the greatest person to ever play football in any league, he had to hang up the cleats eventually. Bo Levi, you're going to have to hang them up sooner or later. I respect you. You are a tremendous athlete. And now it is time to go be the tremendous analyst everyone knows you will be. On to my Week 6 predictions in the CFL. The week opens up with Montreal and Toronto. I think this is going to be a very good game. But I also think Montreal is just going to show up and they're just going to outclass Toronto. The Argos are definitely going to have their moments, in my opinion. But let's put it this way. Saskatchewan and Montreal have the two best defenses in the league, in my opinion. Saskatchewan might have just shown the league how to shut down Cameron Dukes. I think the Alouettes are going to follow the Riders' lead, and I will not be shocked if this ends up being another turnover fest. I think the Alouettes are going to show up, they're going to beat down Cameron Dukes all game, and it's going to come down to can Kadeem Carey make up for the lack of a passing game by running the ball. Carey is a tremendous running back, but I don't think he's going to be able to make up for the lack of a passing game, even if the Alouettes don't have Sean Lemon because his suspension has been reinstated by the CFL. And then we move on to Calgary and Winnipeg. Calgary is one of two teams, in my opinion, in the CFL that are on the cusp of greatness. But I don't think they're there yet. However, with that said, I still think they're going to win this game. Because Winnipeg is on a massive decline. Yes, they just won their last game, but that's against Ottawa. Calgary is one of the three best teams in the West, in my opinion. And I think Winnipeg is one of the weaker teams this season. I'd say the only team in the West that they are currently better than is Edmonton. So, now, I want to be very clear. This is not me saying this because I'm a Rider fan. In my eyes, a strong CFL has 9 strong teams. Every single team would be competitive in the strongest version of the CFL. But the Bombers have tried to hang on to this team too long. And now Calgary is going to show up and they're going to want to prove that they are one of the next up-and-coming teams. So they're going to show up with something to prove and they're going to beat Winnipeg. The other team I think is on the cusp of greatness is Saskatchewan. This is my game of the week this week. Saskatchewan visiting BC. Now, I think this is going to be a very good game, especially with the running back matchup between AJ Ouellette with the Rough Riders and William Stanback with the Lions. And I think it's going to be a very, very fun game to watch. But all eyes should be on the quarterback matchup, in my opinion. You got Vernon Adams and Shea Patterson. Patterson, he played solid. He had a solid week last week against Toronto. But Vernon Adams is having a career season with BC, and I don't see that changing this week. I think BC is going to squeak out a win, not because they are a lot better than Saskatchewan, but simply because Saskatchewan is missing Trevor Harris. If Harris was playing this week, I would pick Saskatchewan, no questions asked. Because I think a fully healthy Rough Riders team is just slightly better than a fully healthy BC Lions team. That is not a knock against the Lions. The Lions, I would say right now, with injuries and everything accounted for, they are the best team in the West. And they are my pick so far this season to win the Grey Cup. I think the Grey Cup's likely going to be Montreal and BC, with BC winning. And I think BC is going to beat the Rough Riders this week. But if Harris returns this season, and the Lions and Riders meet up again, don't be shocked if I pick the Rough Riders. I think these teams are very even, and it's going to be a very fun game to watch. If you only watch one game this week, make it this game. And then we end with a bit of interesting game to end the week, so to say. This would be a really good midweek game, but as the last game of the week, I'm not sure what the CFL was thinking. You got Ottawa and you've got Edmonton. An interesting matchup, to say the least. Now, as of recording, I do not know who Ottawa's starting quarterback is. I don't know if Drew Brown will start. I do not know if Dustin Crum will start. What I do know is whichever one of them starts, I think we'll get the win. I think, regardless of all the changes Edmonton made over the offseason, I don't think that roster is enough to hang with a team that isn't just rebuilding, but they're doing it properly. I think Ottawa's going to get another win here. And Edmonton, don't get me wrong, they have a solid roster. But I have been harping on this all season long. They do not have an offensive line. They do not have someone that can protect McLeod, Bethel, Thompson. They don't have someone who can open up rushing lanes for Brown. They don't have a good enough offensive line. And I think that is going to continue to be the difference maker. I think the only team in the league Edmonton can beat right now is Hamilton. I think Ottawa wins this, and I will be genuinely, really shocked if the Elks do. But hey, if they do, feel free to call me out on it in the comments down below. But that is everything I have for you guys this week. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And if you're on Spotify, be sure to follow the 13th Man Podcast Network. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you guys have a great week. I hope you guys have a great whatever. Stay safe, stay strong, you got this. And this is Jackie for Prairie Sports Talk, signing off.